Hello, I'm Fred Dinage. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm talking to you, hopefully, about crime and criminals, gangsters and killers. And we're talking at the moment about the Kray twins, Reggie and Ronnie, who in 1969 were sent down for life imprisonment, which the judge, Justice Melford Stevenson, should be a minimum of 30 years, both of whom had committed murder. Ronnie had killed George Cornell, a member of the Richardson gang. Reggie had killed a member of his own firm, Jack the Hat McVitie. So how did I come to meet the Kray twins? Well, it's a fascinating tale. Let's start with how I met Reggie Kray first of all. In 1985, I was presenting a show on ITV in the south and southeast of England called Coast to Coast. It was the nightly news magazine programme. On this particular night, we had a report about a father from Gosport whose daughter's life had been saved with a life-saving transplant. The dad, who's still a good friend of mine, was so overjoyed with the hospital at saving his daughter's life, he vowed to raise funds for them to buy equipment they couldn't get on the NHS. We ran the story. A reporter called Steve MacDonald, sadly no longer with us, did it and did it brilliantly. And a few days later, a letter arrived marked HMP Parkhurst. I opened it. It was from Reggie Kray, written in that scrawly writing that Reggie always wrote with. And it effectively said, I watched this item on your programme. I was very moved by it. We have some very good artists here in Parkhurst Prison on the Isle of Wight. I could commission some paintings and they could be used to sell and then give the funds to this father for his hospital charity. So I put the dad in touch with Reggie Kray, and sure enough, a few weeks later, half a dozen paintings arrived. 5 of them were absolutely brilliant. The 6th was a strange childlike drawing, garishly coloured, of 2 boxes in a ring, but signed R. Kray. So we hung them all up in the studio. We got in an expert from a famous art dealer's and said, have a look at these paintings and give us an honest opinion of each of them. So he walked down the line. In the first painting, he said, look at this. Wonderful skyline in that picture, beautifully done. Second picture, look at the faces in that painting, that's absolutely beautiful. Third painting, a countryside scene, that's beautifully done. And he went down the line, he praised them all, until he got to painting number 6. And we covered over the name R. Kray, and he said, well, you're having a laugh here, aren't you? This has been done by a child, and not very well done at that, it's pretty awful. So I said, that's been done by Reggie Kray. Oh, he said, in that case, let's do this again, shall we? So he goes down the line again. Look at this. Look at the beautiful skyline in that picture. Look at the lovely faces in that picture. Lovely countryside scene. Until he got to the last painting, the little one. And he said, and look at this one. This one's got a wonderful childlike quality. What a very special painting that is. And in actual fact, it turned out he was right, because when he came to the auction, the painting by Reggie Kray made thousands of pounds, and it's been sold and resold many times over the years. So we put that item out as well, the paintings of the art expert. And a few days later, another letter from Parkhurst Prison from Reggie Kray saying, I saw the item. Why don't you come across and visit me on some occasion? And as a journalist, it was an invitation I couldn't refuse. So eventually I managed to get a VO, a visiting order, to go to Parkhurst Prison on the Isle of Wight, at Newport on the Isle of Wight, to go and meet Reggie Kray. I caught the ferry from Portsmouth, and on that ferry was the Kray twins' older brother, Charlie, who I'd never met before, and a guy called Wilfie Pine, who became a very good friend, a man with strong mafia connections. I'll be talking about him in one of our future broadcasts. We went over to Parkhurst. We eventually got through the big security system at the entrance to Parkhurst Prison and got shown into this massive visitors' hall packed with prisoners and their visitors and wives and children and families. And there in the corner was Reggie Kray. Smaller than I expected, tough, wiry little character. And on either side of him, a blonde guy. Tough-looking guys, fellow prisoners, and they were Reggie Kray's minders, because he was the main man in Parkhurst Prison, and there'd be lots of young toughs in there who felt they could make a name for themselves by taking out Reggie Kray. So he constantly had his minders with him to look after him at all times. We chatted, got on quite well, told me a few things. Meeting was over in a couple of hours, and he said, "Why don't you come back and see me again?" So the next month I went back and saw him again, and again we had a nice chat. And he said to me, "Ronnie and I are looking for someone to write our story. There have been books about us before, lots of stories about us, lots of inaccurate things said about us. We want to tell our story the way we see it. We're looking for someone to write it. Do you know anybody who can do it?" And even though I'd never written a book before in my life, I said to him, "Yeah, I could do that, Reggie. I could write your story." Well, he said, "You'll have to meet my brother, Ronnie, in Broadmoor Hospital for the Criminally Insane and Crowthorne in Berkshire. If Ronnie likes you, you can do it. If Ronnie doesn't like you, the whole deal's off." So it was arranged. I had to go and see Ronnie Kray. That was easier said than done, and the meeting when I met Ronnie Kray was quite extraordinary. I'll tell you all about that next time. Hope you can join me.